Good morning! This is Bill from Curious Cars on what has to be one of the most miserable and shitty Florida mornings yet. It's, the middle of August, trending towards the after part of August. It's the worst time to be down here in southern Florida, and I am definitely paying the price. I mean, it is just hot beyond description. It's just this misty blanket of misery. It's already like, I don't know. I mean, the sun just came up and it's well over 80 degrees and the humidity is just awful and it doesn't have any hope of changing, at least for another month or two. So here I am stuck and it just absolutely sucks. And, I've been gone for a while. I know I haven't done a video. It's definitely been a while. I took that trip to North Carolina after Meekum. I went up into the mountains to get some good weather. It was absolute bliss. The woman who ran the Airbnb I took said there might be bears around, which freaked me out, to be honest. So I brought up basically an arsenal with me and was ready for anything, but I didn't see any bears. I saw a lot of deers, way too many deers running around, and I really think the people up there on Beach Mountain should probably start, having deer dinners to cut the numbers down a little bit. It just seemed insane to me, all this meat walking around untouched, and, whatever. I just think, why let that go to waste? I'd love to, read my notes, but my glasses are fogged up, so I'm going to have to wing this. I've only got a lump of a black thing in front of me in the viewfinder. I think it's the car I'm reviewing. I can only hope it is, and we're just going to keep going. After I went to North Carolina, I did do that one, I don't remember what the hell it was now, but then I went to Isla Mirada, to the Keys. We have this annual lobster trip a friend of mine from high school puts together, and it's fantastic. We go out lobstering, even being an old fat guy, I have to dive down 10 feet with a stick and a net and try to coax one of these lobsters into it and then bring it up. And by the time I get back to the boat, I'm hyperventilating and having a cardiac event. But, yeah, after the first day it gets a little bit better and you keep going. Then we went mahi fishing and I ended up hooking a really nice one, but I grabbed the first rod I saw and it turned out to be like our mangrove snapper rod with 12-pound test, and I hooked a the 35-pound bull mahi, and the thing just, I was so outclassed equipment wise. It took 2 hours to bring this thing in. The rod broke in half in the middle of it, and if I'd had the proper rod, it would have been like a 20-minute fight, but it was epic. And we did get the fish in. It did give us a lot of, meat to take home, but I'm not sure it was worth the, 2 hours or so of struggle to do it on what eventually, with the snap ended up being like a peel pocket fisherman. But anyway, it was great, but now I'm back. I'm in the heat. I'm miserable, and I will be for the foreseeable future. I grabbed this car from Dave the Wholesaler. Very nice guy, very happy that he lets me take some of his stuff to do a video on. It's a 2011 Audi R8 Spyder. Which is a pretty cool car. There's no question about that. But it really isn't my wheelhouse, and frankly, I doubt it's yours either. But we're going to go on it. We're going to get it done. It was the neatest thing that I had available to me, without reviewing my truck again or something. So, here it is. I have been posting a fair amount on Twitter, so if you're not over there, get over there and sign up. I mean, it's like the last bastion of free speech in America, at least as far as big, and that's a term that I despise, social media. It makes me sick, but for want of a better term, there it is. It's kind of the last social media platform that has anything resembling free speech to it, and I'm enjoying sort of posting stuff over there, updates, stuff that annoys me, fun facts about cars, that kind of crap. So I'm having fun, and, if you're not on it, you should probably get on it. So, but anyway, look, I'm going to stop there, and let's keep this thing short, and we're going to take a very quick take on this Audi. In the beginning, the word Audi is Latin. It's for to listen. and it was coined as a car name by the son of a guy named August Horsch. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. It was kind of a 19th and 20th century German automotive pioneer or entrepreneur, or whatever you want to call him. And the son suggested the name because Horsch is German for to listen. And the Horsch name, unfortunately for him, remained a trademark of the company that he left before he formed what would be Audi. So he got a bunch of his buddies together. They went over to some dude's apartment to drink beer and, you know, talk about Hausfraus or whatever the Germans did back then, to come up with a name for the company. And the son was listening in while he was doing his homework. And he finally piped up and said, look, name it Audi. It's Latin for to listen. So, you know, not only does it sound pretty good, it matches your shtick. And basically everybody, by all accounts, everyone thought it was a pretty clever name at the time, and they went with it. And the rest is history. And since then, Audi has had one of the richest and most enviable histories in the automotive world. I mean, without question. For a company that kind of hides in the shadows, it really has a tremendous history. Their pre-war race cars were the stuff of legends. You know, they were called Auto Union back then. I won't get into all that, but when that's what the four rings mean. Four different companies came together to make one company, and it was called Auto Union at the time. It eventually just became Audi. But anyway, their race cars were just amazing. Of course, they made street stuff as well. And then they went on after the war. You know, here it is, I'm telling you. I've had a little bit of coronavirus whiskey. I have all my sort of prepared shtick here, and it's just hard to get into the flow, but anyway, there it is. After the war, they have one of the most frequently dominating cars in all of motorsports, which is interesting. So, I mean, you go to Lemans, Sebring, Daytona, there's a strong chance you're going to see an Audi win it. You get into the 70s, 80s, 90s, the Audis won almost all the off-road rally competitions. I mean, the Quattro system just blew everything else away. And they ended up with one of the great racing histories, again, in the automotive world. And Audis of the modern era have sort of always had something of a quiet prestige to them, at least the production cars. My earliest memory of an Audi was the sedan owned by the Robin Masters estate in Magnum PI. It was driven by Higgins and had the personalized plate Robin 2. Occasionally, you know, Magnum drove it around as well. But they were the kind of imports that were driven by, you know, doctors, bankers, airline pilots. Not quite in your face the way a Mercedes is, but still upmarket, and again, with sort of a quiet prestige. And they faltered somewhat, very, very unfairly. With the fabricated, CBS did an absolute shitty thing on 60 Minutes and sort of fabricated this unintended acceleration scandal in the late 1980s. You know, a bunch of people died. Some nice young suburban woman ran over her child, and basically what they were saying was that these Audi 5000s would all of a sudden malfunction in such a way that the brakes stopped working and the engine would run wide open and the thing would take off and kill people in front of it, Christine style. Well, you know, that also happens to perfectly mimic what happens if somebody misses the brake and just steps on the gas and then puts it into gear, which it turned out was exactly what happened. But all the lawyers pounced, and you know, it went from sudden acceleration, unintended, to pedal, you know, misdesign, where the pedals were too close together. And while that was good for driving, not everybody was ready for it, and you know, I guess that ended up being the thing. But they ended up surviving that, and the company recovered very nicely. And today, Audi SUVs are prolifically driven by, you know, semi-wealthy housewives desperately looking to preserve an image of some kind. And young, nerdy professionals who sort of graduated from winged and bespoilered Honda Civics to winged and bespoilered RS5. So the company today is doing just fine. But despite all of this, sort of impressive sporting legacy that they had for, racing and rally over the years, they never built a supercar. And Mercedes and BMW did, in fact, a variety of them. And Audi, they just seemed content with taking their kind of pedestrian coupes and sedans and sporting them out a little bit. There was the TT, if you remember that bathtub-shaped thing. But it was kind of a platform designed to underpin front-drive economy cars. It was a Quattro, at least some of them, but it wasn't really a great sporty platform, and it was easily outclassed by the Boxster and the Z4 and the SLK. It was a cool piece, but it just wasn't a true sports car. But that would change when the VW Group, of which Audi, of course, is a long-standing member, bought the Lamborghini name a few years ago with the intent of sort of resuscitating that beautiful Italian brand into a maker of stern and angry German-built exotic cars. I don't know. Maybe it's my age, but at some point I just feel like everything changed for the worse. And when the Germans took over all the exotic cars, I think that was a big part of it. It certainly ended my love for exotic cars. But like VW once did with a car called the Phaeton, Audi did something similar with Lamborghini. Bentley, the VW Group also bought Bentley. And they developed their first model under the VW R&D budget by making a car called the Phaeton, which was a $100,000 Volkswagen with a V12, or at least an available V12. And it made Bentley's ledger sheets look a lot better faster and gave VW something fun to play around with, Customers who love Volkswagens could go buy this V12-powered $100,000 people's car that basically resembled a stretched Passat. The valet parker at the Ritz probably directed them around back. But it was just, to me, it was a pretty cool piece, I have to admit. But then again, I'm kind of a weirdo. But that Audi did basically the same thing. The Lamborghini Gallardo was released in '04, but a year earlier, the Audi R8 Lemans concept came out in 2003. The R8 wouldn't be produced in '06 after the Gallardo, but the concept came out in '03, and this allowed much of the Gallardo's development costs to be debited from the Audi account, which of course made Lamborghini's numbers look a little bit better quicker. And in return for, spending that money, Audi would get its first supercar. And it's obviously worked well for both companies because Lamborghini, now sells a shitload more cars than they ever did historically. And Audi is still making the R8, although not for much longer. I think it's being phased out this year because, climate change. But to me, the R8 is basically an exotic car for people who don't like exotic cars. When I look at it, it's like ordering sweet and sour chicken at a Chinese restaurant. It's safe. It looks, it just doesn't... It's a handsome enough design, and it performs in a way an exotic supercar should, but it just isn't going to draw a crowd or stop traffic. The police could probably perform an undercover stakeout or sting operation in one of these things without really getting noticed, and that's good and bad in a way. But anyway, that's basically how the R8 came to be. And I'm going to pause there for a minute. We're going to get into this specific car, and then we'll keep going from there. So bear with me one moment. Alright, so let's have a quick look at the styling of this car. And, it is a handsome piece. There's no question about that. But again, it just doesn't explode onto the senses or anything. It just kind of, for an exotic car, it blends into the background. The Gallardo that it's the sister car of is a much more impactful piece than this one is. This is a Spyder, a convertible. The coupe came out first and ran for a few years. The Spyder followed. And the coupe was a little bit more distinctive. It had these big side pod air intakes, which were sort of unique and ran the whole length of the car. They were kind of a love it or hate it thing. When they came out with the Spyder, they sort of did away with that that and had these more traditional vents. But, you know, frankly, the thing could be sort of an MR2 in my eyes when you look at it. You know, it shares sort of the same basic philosophy as that. And for a car, you know, upwards of $150,000 plus, I just think it should have more impact. There are a bunch of people who say that these cars will age very well and become collectible, and I suppose that's true, you know, for a variety of reasons. But again, they just don't do a whole lot for me. The front end is all air vent, you know, big traditional Audi trapezoidal grille and the four rings on the top of the stubby hood, sort of angry swooped in headlights, and you've got that famous Audi stainless steel windshield frame, giant 5-spoke, well, actually twin 5-spoke wheels with manhole cover brakes behind them. You know, the thing, of course, brakes extremely well. There's those vents I'm talking about. The mirrors have little LEDs in them. It is mid-engine, so the engine is sitting back there where those stainless-looking air vents are, and of course that helps it handle. And from what I understand, it handles about as well as just about anything else on the road or the racetrack. It's just terrifically. I'm not feeling that when I drive it, but I'm not really driving it in a sporting manner. I'm just trying to enjoy it. I like the racy looking gas cap it's got. In the back, again, all air vents. You can see this is a little pop-up spoiler here that comes up, you know, automatically at speed to keep the ass end down. LED tail lamps, again, the four rings. You got quad pipes coming out the bumper, which looks nice. Sort of a subtle diffuser at the bottom. Very wide rubber all around, of course, as a, you know, supercar should have. And you sit well forward of the engine. I think it has like a 55-45 or 47-53, something like that weight distribution, which of course keeps it pretty well planted on the ground. It uses a what they call the Audi space frame. That's one of their engineering shticks that they use, and it's sort of an aluminum monocoque. That's a word I sort of enjoy saying, which is very, very light, very rigid. It makes up the chassis of the car, and of course it shares that with the Lamborghini Gallardo. And of course very lightweight panels all around the monocoque, if you will. And the convertible, the Spyder, adds like 220 pounds. It uses lighter stuff than the coupe does to keep it pretty much the same, and it really didn't impact, you know, a lot of cars when you take the roof off, it changes the entire dynamic. If they handled very well, all of a sudden they didn't. If they were light and fast, all of a sudden they weren't. They were heavy. Well, in modern engineering, using the systems that Audi has, they were able to make these Spyders basically handle just as well as the coupes, even up the horsepower a little bit to make it happen. So anyway, look, let's have a look inside this thing. I'm going to start inside the frunk, which is a word that I absolutely despise. But we're going to do it anyway. So this whole front end pops up, and well, here you've got it looks like the windscreen sitting there. But here's your cargo area. You know, I don't think you're going to fit a set of golf clubs in there, but good luck trying. But otherwise, you can put in whatever it is some Audi driver might need. You know, any number of small automatic weapons, or, you know, little bags of Coke, or, you know, whatever. You know, you could put your Chinese dinner in there to get home with. Infants are going to fit very nicely into that little thing in the bottom. Let's see what's under that. See if Dalton cleaned it. That's your jacking hardware and tire pump and, you know, all that kind of crap. But anyway, it's a nice little infant containment area. It's lit up, and if you could disable that emergency release somehow, then they're not going to come out of there. So anyway, that's the frunk of the car. Have a look inside the I don't know if I close that all the way, but we'll see when we get in it. Have a look inside the engine compartment. For some reason, you have to have the key on to open the engine compartment, and to get the key on, I have to do this contortionist thing in here to lean in. Yeah, there we go. I'm just going to leave the key in the ignition for now. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, my God. Okay. If I ever go racing again, I'm going to race town cars. So here it is. Here's the engine, or at least what you can see of it. And there have been two basic engines in these cars since its inception. It started with this, the 4.2-liter V8. Considered by many to be one of the best V8s in the world. I really can't speak to that one way or the other. I've never had great luck with Audis, but other people seem to. And anyway, by all reports, it's a pretty good engine. And there were many variants of it through the course of R8 production. A couple of years after this, they got the V10, the 5.2-liter, from the Lamborghini, an Audi engine that went into the Lamborghini and then came back to the Audi. So, you know, the sort of... the way these companies all do their little inner switch-arounds are kind of interesting. It's very incestuous. But anyway, so you could get the 5.2 or the 4.2, and they're, you know, for all reports, they're pretty damn good engines. From the beginning, you could also get a 6-speed manual, which is preferred, or this Audi R8, which this one has, which I don't like at all. And, you know, my little bit of Google research backs that up. Not many people do. It's, again, one of these sort of robotic manuals without a clutch that does the shifting for you, and it reminds me so much of the SMG transmissions from the earlier BMWs, like the M3 and whatnot, and I hated those too. You know, they've got great launch control, supposedly, and there are other bits and pieces that are nice about them, but to me it just feels clunky and weird, and it shifts weird, and the pause between shifting is odd, and you're much better off paddling it around than you are just leaving it in automatic mode. So anyway, there it is. There's suspension-wise, what do you got? You got coil springs all the way around. You got trailing arms in the back. You could get an available magnetic ride control that I'm sure was developed by Delphi, the one that you know, they used in the Corvette, and then Ferrari started using, and I'm sure Audi bar. It's considered one of the best magnetic rides out there, but Audi may have made their own copy of it. And anyway, you could get that, but yeah, there it is. It's a great handled piece. Let me pause for a moment. I'm going to put my crap in the frunk, and then we're going to go for a spin. So hold on for just a second. All right, so let's have a look in this thing. One thing I find kind of fascinating is the length of this door. You can see this is basically where most doors would end right here. This one extends backwards from there and becomes sort of incredibly long and weird looking when it's open. You know, I guess that's, again, part of the monocoque construction for structural rigidity and whatnot, but it feels a bit strange to me. It's quite a big door jamb in there. You know, it looks like the size of New Hampshire, and the vents going into the back. God, that looks like an MR2. This cover here is what comes up to hide the convertible top. These are pop-up rollover, you know, protection for keeping you safe, German style, in the event of collision, and everything sort of as it should be. So you've got these sort of nice big sport seats. I don't find them to be particularly comfortable. I just wasn't able to find a great seating position in it, but other people seem to rave about it. I don't know what they're feeling, but I'm not. But anyway, they look nice. I do like the contrast of the metallic black with the red, and I don't think Dave's going to have any trouble selling this thing. You've also got sort of leather-wrapped door panels using pretty nice materials, although you got a little bit of elbow rub. I don't know if that was the animal who owned this thing or if it's weak by design. You got your window switches and mirror controls, gas, and there's a frunk popper there at the front, and a little, you know, map pocket in the side, which is a nice place to keep a switchblade or, you know, a bag of meth or whatever it is you drive around with. So anyway, let's hop in. And also sort of a weird pull handle there, the way it's sort of, I don't know, everything's weird. Fire this thing up. Yeah, a little bit muted inside as well. This one is the V8, the 4.2. I want to say it has, what the hell kind of horsepower did it have? Like 420, something like that. 317 foot-pounds of torque. Pretty good. You know, it's good enough to motivate the thing to 60 in a little over 4 seconds. If you opted for the For the 5.2 liter, the one from the Lambo, or, you know, similar, you'd get 525 horsepower and 391 foot-pounds of torque, which, of course, a lot of people might have preferred. But, you know, maintenance-wise, that's another area this car sort of has it over the competition, is the maintenance is more like what you'd get with a 911 than it is with a Lamborghini. So you can sort of have your cake and eat it too. You know, operating costs are fairly low for an exotic car, and they're fun to, you know, they're fun to drive. And again, that's why I say it's an exotic car for nerds, because if you're an exotic car owner, you don't give a shit about the maintenance costs. I mean, if you do, then don't buy one, because that's the whole point. You know, I used to sell Bentleys down at the auto house for Peter, you know, and a guy would come in, oh, that car's really going to cost you, you know, a fortune. Yeah, of course. That's a feature, man. That's what separates you from the animals, is your $600 oil change, you know? And the fact that Audi's making something which kind of cheats that, it just offends me a little bit. You know, the gauge cluster is nice. I don't know why it's got this sort of little spooge there behind it, but that's our humidity. That's what it does to everything. You can see an 8,000 RPM red line out of a V8, a little over 8 actually, which is very impressive. You got a temp gauge there to the left of it. You got a little driver information center in the middle. Sorry, that's an oil pressure gauge. Oil temperature gauge to the left of it, water temp in the middle, fuel over there. You got your voltmeter and a 220 mile an hour speedo. This one, I want to say this tops out around 190, maybe a little bit under. The 5.2 will put you up over 200, which obviously is extremely fast and probably more than anybody needs. But it's a nice instrument cluster, as it should be, analog. You got a little flat-bottomed steering wheel with flippity flips on it to get your way through the gears, and a little muted airbag. You got some multifunction controls on it. It flips up and down. You got your stalks over here, your automatic headlights, your automatic wipers. You got Audi's, I don't know, what are they called? MMR or something, infotainment, navigation plus. What do we got on the radio?
Podcast subscriptions from?
Yeah, we got commercials on the radio. Let's see if we can find something else.
Yeah,
the cars, I just absolutely love the cars, so I can listen to that anytime. But anyway, there it is, and you know, it's the same one as you're going to find in any Audi RS5. You got your navigation, you get your map over here, you hit it into reverse, you're going to get a backup camera probably. Yeah, there it is. And that brings us, you got climate control, heated seats. This is Audi's much unliked R-tronic shifter for that R-tronic 6-speed robotic manual. You know, it's got a sport button, which I'm going to hit. It's got, I don't know if this is optional, the magnetic ride control, the suspension. We've got sport mode on now. You can turn your traction off. I understand these cars are pretty easy to kick the tails out in, which is nice. And it's, you know, it's a decent setup, but I have to say that you don't feel like putting it in reverse. You don't, there's no satisfactory clunk into a gear, or you don't feel that it's doing anything other than it lights up. You'd never know that you'd actually made it into a gear, and I do find that a little bit offensive. Let me get some AC going here because it's a little bit hot. I got the defrost on. We'll turn that off. Get it cold, and I'm going to put the top up. To do that, you press this guy here, and you can see that cover comes up. Up comes the fabric soft top. Works in like, I don't know, like 20 seconds or something. Seals into place. Down goes the back. Seals in. I think that back window then is going to come up, but it hasn't yet. Don't know why. I guess I'll run that up manually. Yeah, there we go. Dalton did a nice job cleaning the top of that. Let me hop out for a second so you can see how it looks with the soft top up. Yeah, so you got your buttresses and a nice little black fabric soft top, and as it should be. Of course, dual power seats. You'd expect that in a $200,000 car or whatever the hell this thing cost. Let's get our seatbelt on. Where's our temperature? 75. That is bullshit. It is not 75 right now, I guarantee. It was 78 when I was driving in the dark 2 hours ago. Alright, we're going to go over into automatic mode. I'm going to do that for the moment. I've got to close Peter's gate manually. It took a shit again. That thing breaks every like 2 weeks. Peter has the worst luck with his gates of any human being that I know. I'll see how soon he gets it fixed. So, all right, well, I'm going to pause for a minute, put the gate back, and then we'll keep going. All right, so the gate is locked and we are good to go. I like the little Audi labeled ashtray they give you. That's, you know, that's absolutely fantastic. Lung cancer brought to you by Audi. And there you see we're in A1S. That means automatic first gear sport. And I tell you what, let me go over to manual. Yeah, now we're in manual 1. Fortunately, Puss is over here, but I should be able to get it going. And we're gonna slam this thing down the road. Yeah, great. There we go, manual 1S. I'm not gonna get on it too hard on this road here. Especially because we have lawn trucks playing chicken with us, which is fantastic. I guess I'll go on this side. Little lawn trucks and white vans are just all over Naples. You can see that crappy windshield job Dalton did, but not for much longer, which we'll get into in another video. But look, I mean, so I'm in a sport suspension mode, which is why I'm probably bouncing around a lot. If I take that off, there you see sport mode off, I'm still bouncing around, but yeah, it did get marginally softer. But it does have a ride that is, you know, it's sporty, and even in its softest mode, it's going to be sporty because it's supposed to be sporty. So if it drove like a Cadillac, it just wouldn't make any sense. And I say that as though Cadillac still had little tiny, you know, thin steering wheels and giant leather seats instead of shit that's tested at the Nürburgring with supercharged MS motors. But I'm living in the past. So anyway, we're going to get up onto the road and see what we got. What are we in? Third gears, downshift. Yeah, it has a nice little wicked sound to it. They say the newer ones have some of the best audio out there. Man, that sounds pretty cool, I got to admit. So we got cars coming. Wait for them to get by, and then we'll see what we got. I don't know if the red line comes up very fast or not. Reasonably fast. Yeah, there it is. I mean, you know, it sounds neat. Fun to shift through the gears. It's nice having a sound coming from behind you. I don't think they're piping in the sound. We gotta slow down. Yeah, you're not wrong. Probably going a little too fast. I don't know if it's got sound piped in through the speakers the way some of the modern cars do, but I don't think it does. I think this is the true sound of the car. And it's fine, you know, I mean, it's very, very quick, it's very sure-footed, but I'm really not in what feels like a comfortable seating position, at least to me. I can't recline the way I like to. The seat back comes up hard against the middle, you know, engine, there's a little growly downshift. It does that manually for you with the sport mode on. Look at this poor bastard, saving money on gas. What the fuck is that giant tassel coming off the handle of the brake? Seems like something that's gonna catch an item on the road, pull the wheel, and flip you off over the windshield. It's Bob Marley's hairdo or something. I don't understand that at all. But anyway, what the hell? And what is this here? That's a Mercedes. That's an Audi competitor. I don't see any angry women in Audi SUVs, as you're likely to see as you're sort of driving around Naples. Oh, for God's sake, it goes into neutral and makes you click back into first. But anyway, driving the car is fun, there's no doubt. They say it's terrific to run around a racetrack. The handling's great. The visibility really isn't bad at all. I have a pretty good view all around me. And, you know, again, it's a conservative supercar. The first conservative supercar, or any supercar, from a company that has great tradition in racing but never built one. And with this car they did. It's run for a while. I don't know if there's going to be another one, and if there is, it'll probably be electric and annoying. So, you know, if you want the last hurrah of internal combustion, you should probably go out and get the last one of these things made. They're supposed to be nice if, again, you're the kind of guy who orders sweet and sour chicken at a Chinese restaurant, because you really just don't like Chinese food, and that's the way it is. So I'm gonna end it there. I might do a little highway run after this, but we'll see. Depends on the traffic. And I'm gonna come up with some fun stuff. I'm gonna try to get back into making as many videos as I can. I say that and then it doesn't happen, but we're gonna give it a shot. We'll see what I can find. And I really appreciate you guys having a look. Get over to Twitter, for God's sake. I'm having fun over there. I'm posting some stuff, and if more people sign up, I'll post more. I'll go back through my archives and find some shit that really, you know, was fun, you know, video, like dash cams or this, that, the other. I'll try to find some stuff to put up there if I get a few more people following. And otherwise, thanks again, and we will see you with the next one. Take care.